Hi, it's Liz and Matt, and we were just having a bit of a discussion about money and security. And we were talking about, is it actually money that makes you feel secure? So when you get to that stage where you're wealthy, what is it that makes life happier and also gives you that feeling of security? Because we noticed in a lot of the people that we coach, that's one of the big goals, is to have that feeling of security that money, that nice money in the bank will bring. And that's what we're all doing this for. So, but we were having a discussion about that. So is it actually the money? And Matt was saying, yeah, of course it's the money.
Well, we should put it in context. I grew up, like a lot of us, with very, very little money in a very, cash-strapped, money was tight, in a very poor area. The finance side of things was pretty tough, as it was for a lot of us in the 70s, showing my age there, here in Australia. So for me at first, when we were talking about this, I was saying, of course it's the money. But now that I have turned 50, it's interesting, you get a bit more looking back a bit at your life, bit of perspective. And we've been lucky enough to be very successful. And looking back at what made part of that success in the journey, I think Liz's question's a really interesting one. It's the money, does it buy you happiness and
that feeling of security? And
it does to a degree. Yes, it definitely does when you come from a poor background. I can tell you that. Okay, definitely when you come from a poor background where you're not used to having money, it definitely helps there. But now when I'm looking back at it, going to sound all guru-ish and everything, but seriously, it's about the journey. And Liz is right. We were having a chat. I think the skills are what really gives us the security.
I'm saying my thoughts is that it's not the money, it's the fact that we know we can do it now. So we've done it, we've created it, and it's that deep knowledge and the skills and all those skills that we've learned over the last 10, 20 years. And so that gives me the security of knowing no matter what happens, I could do that again. I've got the skills, I've got the abilities, I've got the networks and the connections, and that's actually what creates that feeling. And so the reason we're talking about this is because sometimes I think we chase that money goal. We think, I've got to get the cash. It's all about I've got to get the money. That's when I'm going to be successful. That's when I'm going to be happy. That's when I'm going to feel secure, when I have that money in the bank. But if you won the lottery tomorrow, there's a huge majority of people who win the lotto end up with less actually money than they started out with. Not just because they're not sure how to handle it, but also because it's that they don't actually know how they did it and they couldn't potentially do it again. So there must be a big feeling of insecurity around suddenly getting a heap of money and not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing how to handle it, and not knowing how to recreate it if you lost it. And so we just wanted to have a different perspective about, okay, when you go on this wealth journey and, you've got this drive, you want to go and get the money and you're doing all this, to create this for your family or for yourself and the people around you. Is it actually the money that you're after? Or is it better to actually focus on the fact that I'm learning skills, I'm creating a deep knowledge within myself that I can do this, and I'm gaining not only knowledge but experience, and so I know that no matter what happens I can build on that and I can create more and more and more and go from there.
I call it creating a money-making skill, and I think for me that gives me the security. And it's interesting looking back at my life. I remember as a kid always had that dream of making money out of thin air. And I think what we do now is perfect. That's how you do it with websites. It's like it's out of thin air. You don't talk to anyone.
And it's about knowledge.
You
it's
wake
not
up
about
in the morning.
Hard work. It's not about actually physically digging or whatever.
You literally wake up in the morning and there's money in the account. We literally got an email off Google this morning saying, please check your account. You've received a Google AdSense payment. And so it's cool, and it feels like that childhood dream of mine of creating money out of thin air. So yes, now I can look back and go, yes, it's about the knowledge that I have, so that, like Liz said, I know no matter what happens, I can go out there and create money out of thin air. That gives me a big sense of security in life and for my family's sake.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it the money? Do you think it's the money, or do you think it's the knowledge? We're interested to hear your thoughts. So there's our tip for today and for the beginning of the new year. Perhaps what you might focus on this year is not just the money, but perhaps building those skills so that you have that deep-seated belief in your own ability to create that money. And that's what's going to give you that really beautiful, strong feeling of security.
Nice.